Assalamu alaikum students, welcome to English class. Today we are going to discuss elements of a short story or one act play. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to understand different elements of a short story or one act play, and you'll be able to identify elements of short story of the given one act play progress. So to start with, there are 5 important elements of a short story. The 5 key elements that make up a short story are characters, settings, conflict, theme, and plot. Now we'll discuss them one by one. To start with, what are characters? Now to look at the characters, let's see. Character is a person or sometimes an animal who takes part in the action of a short story or other literary work. Characters and how we get to know them through the author's physical description of them, through their actions, through their words or dialogue, through their inner thoughts, and through what other characters say and think about them. So this is all about characters. Characters can be animated, characters can be real. Okay. Next we have setting. Setting is the time and place that a story occurs. Okay. Author, they often use description of landscape, scenery, buildings, seasons or weather to provide a strong sense of setting. Okay, so whenever you read a short story, you'll come to know that this story took place in the forest, this story took place in the house, or the setting is drawing room or sitting room or kitchen. Okay, so setting is actually the time and place where the story occurs or takes place. Next, we have theme. This is very important. Theme is the meaning behind events and characters' action in a story. The theme is the central idea, it's a message or purpose in a short story. A theme can be expressed as a general statement about people or life. It is not plot summary. Okay, theme, you cannot say that this is the summary of the plot. Okay, theme is overall point of view which is described in that particular story or one act play. It can be either directly or indirectly stated by the author. Most likely it is said indirectly. Okay, you have to derive the theme yourself, or you can give your personal opinion also. Okay, next is the conflict. Now what is conflict? Conflict is any of the problems that a character encounters in a story. The conflict is a struggle between two people or things in a short story, and the main character is on one side of the main conflict. Now conflict or the issue, it can be external. External means conflict with others and with nature. Internal is conflict within themselves. When the conflict is internal, it means either the writer is talking about the problem or the conflict of the character, where he is fighting with himself or his own personality traits, or with other characters in the story. The main character may struggle against another important character. Okay, the conflict can be between two characters. It can be against the forces of nature. It can be against society if this is a social issue. It can be against something inside himself or herself, like feeling, emotions, or illness. So these are the different types of conflict that might occur in the play or story. Plot. Now plot, it refers to a pattern of events that develop from the interactions between characters. A plot is a series of events and characters actions that relate to the central conflict, and a plot is further divided into 5 elements. There is exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and conclusion. Please, these are look at these are the parts of plot. They are not you cannot say these are the elements of the story. These are the elements of plot: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and conclusion are the part of, or the elements of plot. Now one by one we'll see what is exposition. The start or introduction of the story. Okay, the background information that the reader must have in order to understand the story. Like when I will start this play, progress. So there would be exposition of the plot, okay, where the introduction of the story would be given, that the story is actually written about the World War. It is the outcome of World War I. Okay, so that would be the exposition or the background information. This is where characters and settings are also introduced, and mostly you might have heard Once Upon a Time. Okay, Once Upon a Time is actually the exposition where in your childhood you are told stories about, but when you grow up now, when you are reading the stories, they are uh, not with this statement, once upon a time. Okay, so as a child you might have heard, once upon a time there was a king, once upon a time there was a princess, once upon a time there was a dragon. Okay, rising action. Now, after the exposition, rising action, all of the events that take place leading up to the climax. Climax is the highest point or the resolution where the story is going to its end. This is where the reader is introduced to the conflict. Rising action in the plot where the reader is introduced to the main conflict. What is the issue in the story? And climax, the most exciting part of the story. Previously we discussed the rising action. After the rising action, climax, it refers to the most exciting part of the story or the turning point in the story. Here the story is turned in a different direction towards the conclusion where the story is going to end up. This is known as climax, exciting part of the story. Falling action. Now, falling action, the immediate reaction to the climax. Whatever happens after the climax, after that rising action is known as the falling action. After the climax, whatever the events they take place, all the actions that occur after the climax and before the conclusion of the story are known as the falling action. Next, we have resolution. Now, resolution is the conclusion of the plot. Loose ends are tied up. All the points are summarized. There might not be a clear resolution. This is called a cliffhanger ending. You might have seen some of the dramas, they end up in cliffhanger ending where you are not told about what actually happened. Okay, usually the mystery stories. Okay, mystery stories, they end up like this, that they have the cliffhanger ending where you are not exposed to the actual ending. So some of the stories, they might end up with a resolution and others they might end up with a cliffhanger ending. So this was all about different elements of the story. Here is a quick recap. We have uh, very important elements of a short story. We have plot, we have setting, theme, character, narrator, if it is being narrated by someone or the characters are the narrator. Voice is also sometimes explained, okay, like the story is being told by someone, okay, especially in stage dramas or stage acts, okay. Here you can see this mind map, story elements. We have the setting, where and when the story take place, characters, it can be one, it can be two, or there might be more than two characters. They can be animated, they can be real. Plot, it refers to different events and that take place in the story. Conflict is the main issue or the problem, which is the main part, okay. Then climax, how the falling and rising action take place. Resolution, how the problem is resolved. Theme, the main lesson that you learn or moral lesson, or what are the different ideas that are presented in the one act play or short story. Point of view, it refers to the point of view of the writer and your point of view also after reading that short story or one act play. So hopefully you would have understood what are the different story elements or what are the different elements of one act play, and you'll be able to derive elements of the story after reading this one act play, which is included in your syllabus progress. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day. Allah Hafiz.